unveil our guests, who are eminent geneticists. Let me not cut my teeth there. That assignment is to be handled by Samuel Fatoku. Samuel, thank you.
And of course, congratulations once again to you and to all of us right there on the body part. Let's eventually that Professor Olufumelayo Ayoka Adegambo is a septuagenarian who is introduced to octogenarian milestone in a couple of years. One thing that resonates in our profile is the term first in this and that. Our world revolved around three great institutions in Nigeria, and that's the University of Ibadan. And that's one of the best universities currently. I've done before. I think recently talking about one of the best universities that they made it to their list. And it's actually at the University of Ibadan. She bagged a PhD. And then the Obasanjo University links in where she wants to work at Federal University of Agriculture and Development. He transferred the service and had the better part until retirement, after which we have pronounced our professor emeritus. But owing to our numerous accomplishments, Olufumelayo Ayoka Adebambo is the first female professor of animal breeding, genetics, and biotechnology in Nigeria. He successfully developed a field in the genetic breed for Nigeria with the first 16 years of employment at the Obasanjo University's Institute of Agricultural Research and Training. He transferred his service to FUNAB in October 1993, where he was the first step to develop the first department of animal breeding and genetics in Nigeria. She was the first female dean of the College of Animal Science and livestock production for 6 years. For 6 good years, she has served her country, Nigeria, victoriously as a lecturer, research scientist, and then leading the research activities to develop the sport recruit indigenous feed breeds and the first to improve the indigenous feeding breed for Nigeria, which was funded by the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the International Livestock Research Institute, Ethiopia. The breed was accepted all over Nigeria and has been registered as the first improved indigenous animal breed to be registered in Nigeria by the Nigerian Crop Varieties, Livestock and Fisheries Registration Council in 2018. Olufumelayo Ayoka Adebambo, the first PhD graduate of animal breeding and genetics from the University of Ibadan, in 1976 became the first female professor of animal breeding and genetics in Nigeria in 1996. The first to introduce animal biotechnology application into university students and curriculum in 1998 for both undergraduate and postgraduate studies. Please welcome Professor Olufumelayo Ayoka Adebambo. And moving on from that to our second guest right here, the profile of Professor Ikide Imomore. I hope I got that right. I'll definitely stand to be corrected as we go on in the program. Dr. Ikide Imomore is Executive Director, California State University Biotechnology Program and Professor of Biological Sciences in the College of Science of San Diego State University. Prior to joining California State University in the United States of America, he took the post positions of Brooktown State University, Spelman College, Cornell University, and Georgia Institute of Technology. Professor Imomore is co-founder and CEO of African Biomedical Test Limited based in Nigeria, and provides molecular healthcare testing services, including paternity DNA testing, cancer screening, and newborn screening, and genomics testing services. Professor Imomore holds a PhD in animal genetics and genomics from Texas A&M University, College Station. Performed doctoral training in human disease therapy at the University of Maryland School of Medicine, Baltimore, and holds a PhD from the University of the People, Pasadena, CA. We can go on to the profiles of the professor. You know, the whole of the previous time, you can welcome also Professor Ikide Imomore. And right about now, I'd like to hand over to you, Professor Ikide on the program, to take over in the program.
Well, thank you very much, Fatoku. I read the prologue on the topic on the front burner. Away from the hard stuff of politics economy, governance, and the likes. Tonight's edition is the first delving into the world of science. Therefore, Boiling Point Arena is literally a laboratory of sorts tonight. And you can be sure to hear a lot of scientific jargons, compounds, molecules, atoms, cells, genes, the X and Y chromosomes, etc., etc. On the table of discourse is the topic, genetic revelations, understanding the conundrum of paternity disputes in modern families. As scientific as the topic stands, it goes beyond the issue of science, as it is also an emotional matter. There's a lot that goes into the process of confirmation or disputation of paternity of family members, as well as certain dispositions, characters, behaviors, and temperament that run in a given family. Paternity conflicts in Nigerian families are becoming more prevalent, fueled by recent DNA testing that reveals these rather scary statistics, which is 1 in 4 men are not the biological fathers of their children. These conflicts are leading to increased divorce, legal battles, and significant emotional and psychological trauma. Factors contributing to the issue include a potential decline in the sanctity of marriage, economic pressures, social changes, particularly with firstborn children most frequently affected. A 2025 report found that 25% of paternity tests, yes, resulted in a negative match, meaning 1 in 4 men, like we said, were not the biological fathers due to paternity discrepancies. Some experts attribute the issue to morality or fidelity issues, increased social interaction, and influence of social media, and in most cases, financial motives. Others include relationship issues, whereby, in some cases, women not fully ending previous relationships before marriage, or one of them concealing the inability to conceive. As a consequence, the paternity conflicts are leading to a predicted increase in custody battles and inheritance disputes, not losing sight of the emotional and psychological trauma and mental health consequences for all involved that are associated with it. Well, this edition in particular will unravel family secrets as our geneticists delve into the issue from their own perspectives as experts, and also attempt to assess the impact of DNA testing in paternity disputes. Well, both experts, Professor Olufumilayo Adebambo and Professor Ikide Imumori, I hope you correct us, who are internationally acclaimed researchers, will navigate the DNA conundrum, family dynamics, and emotional fallouts, the challenges, the consequences, and the way forward. Here we are tonight as we dig into all of these issues. Welcome one, welcome all. Permit me, therefore, to bring up the keynote speaker, Professor Sakama Temilola, who is sharing this discourse. By the way, we have been in it for these 3 years. I can safely say happy birthday, Kabis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ojulu. Also, thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Fatoku. I welcome everybody to tonight's edition of Boiling Point Arena. I want to congratulate, in particular, the initiator of this program, Dr. Ayoroju. 3 years of sustaining this program is not a mean feat at all. And I also want to thank all those who have been part of the program, who have helped support to ensure its success so far. I appreciate you all. And I hope we'll continue to go from strength to strength. Tonight's topic for this course is not just a social issue, it's an emotional issue. It's something that can create a lot of problems in our society if we don't look at very carefully. And I'm happy we have experts in the area who can help us throw some light on this. But let me just give a brief overview, just following up on the synopsis given by Dr. Arojolu earlier on. Now, we know that DNA testing is becoming increasingly popular now, thanks to the modern access to DNA technology. Our question is, this paternity issue, did it just start today? Probably not. Because, before we had this explosion in social media and the accessibility to DNA testing, these issues have been there. But advancement in technology has really exacerbated the issue. And then, social, changes to the social structure has also, affected it quite a bit. Now, like Dr. Ojulu said, Nigeria ranks as one of the top nations where paternity fraud has been reported. And it suggests that about almost 2/3 of firstborn in Nigeria may not necessarily be, child of the father, of the husband. Now, and we also know that in Nigeria in particular, just like in most part of Africa, there's the issue around inheritance, which also at stake. And that's where the cultural issue comes in as well. There's the issue of lineage as well. And there's this social status. And, so it makes this dispute, it can make it very painful. It can make it very destructive as well. Now, there are quite a number of causes that we can highlight as being the reason for this paternity issue. Of course, infidelity is one of the things. There's also the issue of migration and relationship breakdown. Fertility challenges in some couple in a situation where both the man and the woman are aware of this issue, and then because of the patriarchal nature of our system in Africa, most of the blame is put on the female. In which case, the female can go around and then go and do a one night stand with somebody else, and then comes with pregnancy. So there's also, because of insecurity issues, because the woman wants to stay in marriage. It's also part of it as well. Now, there's also one important factor. There have been cases of mix-up by hospital staff in handling newborn babies. It's another part of this thing. And in most cases, the parents are not aware of this. And when the issue comes, most times they don't even think about, this source in particular. Again, what are the social and emotional impact that this leads to? One of the main recipients, or the main people that it affects, are the children, where it can give them identity crisis. For example, you can imagine a child, with his or her peers, and the parents know that the child is a bastard, so to say. There's loss of trust, emotional trauma comes with it, and there's social stigma, the major thing in our society here in Africa. On the father, it's a case of psychological. You can imagine a father who has been training a child for, I don't know, quite a number of decades. And then suddenly he finds out now it's not his. You can imagine the distress that causes, the financial burden it comes, and the betrayal. On the mother, it's about public scrutiny. oh, that woman, harlot, she cheated on her husband. The loss of custody, and there are legal consequences as well. And of course, this causes, major issue of family breakdowns, mistrust in relationship, and also generational trauma. And also there's the issue about single parenting that comes with it. And when the family breaks up, then, the parents, are no longer together. It now becomes a single parent that raises the child or the children, as the case may be. And in most cases, children that are brought up by single parents always have issue because, even both parents being there, it's difficult enough. You can imagine if it's now a burden of either the father alone or the mother alone, it becomes another additional burden. There's an ethical and moral dimension to this as well. The question is, how do we balance, sharing the truth, find out the truth, and pursuing it, and family unity? It's a very delicate that we also need to think about. The other issue, which is a dilemma, is it better to withhold paternity information? There's a role of honesty and stability in families that also needs to be considered as part of the question. In a number of cases, there have been DNA testing without the consent of the other party. Question is privacy concerns. These are also part of the moral dimensions that this issue brings. So essentially, if I were to just wrap up all of this, we know paternity challenges are no longer rare. They are commonplace now, based on statistics. And they touch on legal, emotional, and ethical dimensions as well. As families evolve, so must our laws and social support to protect them as well. And there needs to be that balance between sharing the truth, the right of the individuals, the wife, the husband, and especially the children as well. They'll be caught in the middle in most of the cases. The well-being of children is a major thing that must be considered when we're looking at all of this. So again, with all these little points, I'm sure that our discussants will be able to give us much deeper perspectives from their points of expertise to guide us on this very, very difficult situation, this conundrum about paternity dispute. On that note, I'd like to hand over to our anchors, Dr. Ojolu and Mr. Fatokun, to lead us through this session for tonight. Again, thank you very much, and let's have a nice and productive session today.
Thank you very much for that preamble, Kabiyesi. Well, we go straight to the firing line. That's what we call it, on boiling point. And I do hope the emeritus professor Olufunmilayo Adetambo will be the first to take on the shots. Good evening, Mama Prof. How are you today?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Thank you.
Very fine. Very fine, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have brought this topic, which is a complex issue right now. In fact, it's all over the world, not only in Nigeria. Because people in Nigeria, we don't know the extent to which we have bastardized relationship. For example,
okay. Let me, Mommy, let me
yes.
set the tone and then you can fly. I know that
Okay.
you are up to the task.
Okay.
But let's go back to creation. Are you with me now?
Yes.
Let's go back to creation. God created, first of all, the man.
And the woman.
He pronounced the man to come to existence. And later, he was the one who discovered that man would not be complete. He will never be complete without a woman. And brought somebody with all the genetic makeup of the man. That person is a woman. Somebody had told me first that the people you have brought, they are animal genetics. And But I told the person, I said, in the study of biology, biology recognizes plants and animals.
Animals,
And
yes, and human beings.
yes, with that perspective, can you just bring up this issue of genetics, about creation, about makeup of, the person called man? Then you can also bring out your initial perspective, which you were already on course. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayo. Like you started from creation. I said our God is not so stupid as to meddle with our genetic makeup. He has standardized genetic makeup of every human beings and animals. And you know that if anybody has lived on this planet, the bone can tell us about the DNA, about the genetic makeup. The hair, even the nail can give us the genetic makeup because it's already programmed by our God. And like I said, 99% of us, of all human beings, we have the same makeup. But there's 1% area that we found out that 1% created the difference between us. So once you are able to locate that 1%, you are able to tell us whether this person is from this fellow, what we call the coded system, whether this fellow is a criminal, whether this fellow, like I was talking about Lord Jefferson, was the president of America, and he locked up a lady for years, and that lady was giving him children. It was these children that now cried out that we belong to the inheritance of America. And so we want the bones of Lord Jefferson to be exhumed and then compare the DNA with ours to know that we belong to this man. And there was a case of one lady that was killed by the husband and thrown into the ocean. Thank God the ocean brought back that carcass of the woman. By the time they analyzed the DNA, they were able to find out that it was the husband that killed her. So there are so many cases like that. We in Nigeria, we are not very familiar with all this. In 1982, I was in the United Kingdom, and I went to the library. I saw one book. Then I went to the lecturer that wrote the book. I said, this thing, which is called immune genes and so on, I'm interested. Please, can you help me with it? Thank God I was able to get Commonwealth Fellowship 1986 to come and to study the immune genes. The immune genes are the ones that we say were created by God to control our disease system. So that if you belong to another person and that person has immune genes that are different from yours, if you are now trying to transfer or to transplant, you know that it's going to create problem because the immune genes are genetically inherited. So all about our inheritance are already coded by God right from the beginning. Everything has been coded. So like we said, we have the DNA, don't let me give the jargon. The DNA in every individual, you can easily extract it and then compare them with parental issues. And even from children, you can get the DNA of the parents from their children. Because when you look at the coding system, that's the combined DNA information system, you'll be able to tell whether these children belong to this man or belong to this woman. So it's something that is common in the USA, in the European Union, especially for criminal tendencies. So you can't escape if you have a criminal tendency, because the moment you enter Europe or you enter America, they will take your fingerprint. So the fingerprint is already loaded in the database. So if you do anything contrary in that country, they're going to locate you. You can't escape because they have their own database The database is what we are lacking in Nigeria. We have not really funded genetic research in Nigeria before we can say, okay, we need the database. But other countries, if you cannot escape criminal tendency, because you just go to the database, get your fingerprint, and be able to locate wherever that fellow is. God will help us in Nigeria. It's unfortunate that we are still so much backward. Somebody was saying, Mr. Adebabo is an animal geneticist. It was during my tenure as the president of Genetics Society that I had to go to UCH and invite the human geneticists. Please, we are supposed to be part of it. In that time, there were 2 commissioners, one for agri, one for communication, I think. They didn't know anything about this genetic makeup. The one for communication had her children. All of them are dead because she did not determine the sickle cell component. So all the children were dead. The commissioner for agri, when I talked to him, he said, so I'm lucky that all my children, instead of my wife is AS, I am AS, but thank God that all my children are AA. So, and because in every dual inheritance, you have 4 different combinations: ratio 1 dominant, ratio 1 recessive, and the in between, 50% in between. So you can easily determine whatever is happening in a family. So the man was so happy that, we never knew about this, whereas the other woman didn't know. He was an AS, the husband was AS, all the children inherited SS. So they didn't know, they didn't do all these tests before marriage. It's very, very important for us in Nigeria to begin to look at our DNA, our genetic inheritance, right from the beginning, because it has been coded by our God. And when somebody said, I want to be a woman, somebody has coded for your, something has coded for your hormone system. So you cannot change it. It's not possible for you to change it. You want to be a woman as a man. There's no hormonal system in you. You can't get estrogen. So those are the things that people don't understand. You want to be transgender. You want to do this, you want to do that. But they don't know that everything about your cell has been coded. Every cell in your body has been coded by God. The DNA system. And that is the thing that even code for our protein system. So any protein you have in your body has been coded for by God right from the beginning. So there's no way you can change it. Like I said, some people can eat a whole bowl of vegetable and nothing happens to them. Whereas somebody will eat just a little and we run stew. So because the way we are coded, we are different from each other. So we all need, Nigeria needs to have a database, the human database, apart from in our university, we are trying to get the animal database. But the human database is what is very important to us right now in Nigeria. You can see there was a lady that said he was sick because even diseases are inherited. And right now in the US, we have what we call personalized what's it again? Personalized I can't remember again, sorry. Personalized
we can spare you that.
Personalized oh no. Okay, that your system can be personalized to the type of drug that you can use. Personalized drug system. So there are certain drugs you can use that some people cannot use. And it's always in ratio 1:4. 1 for the dominant side, 1 for the recessive side, and 2 for the hybrids in between. So they are now trying to personalize the drug system to people. Because we know not all of us. I was telling somebody this night that, Mama, can you are having malaria, can you use, I don't use malaria drug. If I use it, I will be dizzy for 3 days. I won't see anything. And whereas some people will take the malaria drug and they're okay. So personalized this personalized drug system
I can
is
say
already
that Professor
is already
Ihide
operating.
wants to just prompt you
It's
on that.
operating in some
Can
other
you
countries.
unmute Professor Ihide? Yes.
So and then there was a lady that said, I think the child was sick and went to the hospital. They needed blood transfusion. They now found that blood, the blood of the man is not compatible with that of the son. It was then this lady now said, let me check up. So if my father cannot donate blood to my son, to this, my brother, let me check we sisters, even if we are compatible with our father. It was then they now found out that the three of them are not compatible with their father. And there was a lady also, I think I sent it to you, that said all the three children that she had belonged to another man, and still having an affair with that man without the husband knowing. So it's unfortunate people don't know that we can easily find out now if we have a database, Nigerian database, which is genetically inclined. Then we can monitor criminality, we can monitor genetic inheritances, we can monitor drug use, and so on and so forth. So many things can be monitored if we have a database. It's that database that is lacking.
Thank you very much, Prof. Hello, Prof.
And Prof
Thank you
was
very much.
telling us about the baby mix-up in hospital. At times that also
come over
happens
to Professor
in
Ihide.
hospitals.
Are you through with your line of thought, ma'am?
I'm just talking about baby mix-up in hospitals. I was in a lecture with one lady now said, excuse me, and this and that. I said, I should be on my word in it, because some people will bribe. They needed a male child. They will not bribe the nurse. They will not give another person's child to them. Or they needed a female child. So I said, I should be on my word, because somebody has bribed the nurses to give them another person's child. And when that child gets into your house, Yorubas will say, what is it again? Ọmọ àlè ibẹ̀ ni ò tí dàgbà. Because the behavior will be different from that of others. So you now know that this one belongs to somewhere else. So with all those ones, I think we are still far behind. We are too far behind in animal genetics, in human genetics in Nigeria. We are not really doing anything. In some other countries, they have the database in UK, in Europe, and there's no way a criminal can escape. And there's no way you can traffic another person's child, because you will easily see that this one does not belong to you. So you cannot take another person's child outside of Nigeria, because we don't know that there's certain principles or information that will help us to determine inheritance among couples, among children, and so on and so forth.
Indeed, we are coming over to the issue of the inheritance. Thank you very much, Professor Mamadi Bambo. Let's come over to Professor Ihide. Please help me unmute Professor Ihide.
No, I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted. Thank you very much.
Very good.
I hope you guys can hear me. Yes?
Oh, okay. I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay.
I want you to talk about this DNA conundrum. Tell us the relationship between DNA.
Let me quickly.
Okay, let me let you loose.
Let me quickly. So there are two things I want to quickly say to kind of set the stage. The first one is the data that you provided about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 fathers may not be the biological fathers of, especially their first children. I think that statistic needs to be corrected just a little bit. So in statistics, there's something we call bias. Okay, we can have bias in data. So that data is partly true because it comes out of those who actually did the test. So it's not a population-based sample. It's a proportion of those who have already selected themselves to do the test, meaning that 30% paternal mismatch is not from the overall population. It's from those who actually chose to do the test, meaning that population is already skewed towards those who have reason to doubt the paternity of their children. And going back to what Professor Adebambo had said earlier, there is a major lack of research in this area. In fact, when I was invited to be part of this show, this program, I actually went to do a little literature research myself. I went to delve into the literature and see what have we done, what has been done, what has been published. I'm very shocked to say that I couldn't find anything published on this, meaning that there has never been any proper population-based genetic analysis in Nigeria, in humans. It was so shocking to me. So that data that is being reported in the press is not from any scientific survey. It's not from any rigorous scientific research. It is from labs that handle paternity testing, paternity DNA testing. So it's a very skewed sample. The way to understand this will be to do a broad population-based survey, which hasn't been done yet. So I want to correct that. It's not really true that 1 in 4 children are not the biological children of their presumed fathers. But we really don't know. The real answer is we don't know. We don't know for sure. There are reasons to believe that it may be higher than we think, or maybe it's lower than we think. Until that research is actually done, we cannot say definitively. So that's number one. Mama was alluding to the impact of genetic testing in medical applications. We are entering into a world in the US and in many other advanced countries where many therapies can now be personalized. So you're a patient, maybe for cancer treatment, rheumatoid arthritis treatment, maybe some kind of neurological treatment like Parkinson's disease or paranoid schizophrenia or multiple sclerosis. There are a number of things out there for which they now have very, very good testing. What that means is they will take your DNA and they will analyze your DNA to get your profile. And that profile, which is personal to you, will now be used as a basis to find a very particular therapy that is tailored to that particular profile. It's still pretty expensive and still pretty high-end, but it exists now. It's out there. And the baby snatching thing that Mama talked about is real. As a matter of fact, I don't know about Nigeria, but I live in the US. I've lived in the US for a very long time. My kids were born here. I have 2 daughters who were born here in the US. When a child is born in the hospital in the US, usually babies are taken from their mothers within a few hours of birth and taken to the nursery before the mother and the baby will be discharged, usually the next day. If you have a baby without any complication, everything's just normal, usually you spend 1 night in the hospital and you go home. Occasionally, maybe 2 nights, but most people is 1 night. And so between the time the baby is actually born and the time the mother and baby are discharged, there is a window of time when the baby is in the nursery. It's like a big place where they have, all these beds, lined up side by side where they put all the babies. So what they do is, before the baby leaves the mother's maternity room, they tag the baby and the mother with the same tag on their wrist. And the reason they do that is exactly what Professor Adebambo said. Babies can be switched in the nursery. Babies can be switched either mistakenly or intentionally. If you've ever seen newborn babies, 10 of them in front of you, it can be a little hard to tell them apart. It's not very easy to tell newborns apart who were just born within a few hours. They all kind of sort of look alike. So they do that tagging before they take the baby out of that maternity room and take to the nursery. So the tag, we have the mother's name, the baby's name, and some details. And then before you do anything to the baby, you have to check the tag. And before you leave the hospital, the nurses will check your tag and check the tag of the baby, make sure they match. Before you take somebody else's baby home and another person take your baby home. It's become standard practice to do that. I think a long time ago, it wasn't always like that. And they had these issues of babies getting switched. Which brings me to another issue that relates to paternity exclusion rate in Nigeria. I don't know how they do this in Nigeria, but when you include both the one that is mistake and the one that they may have bribed the nurses because you want a male child or a female child or whatever, I wonder, when we see these paternity exclusion issues we see, could it possibly be due to baby switching at birth, either by mistake or intentionally? It's possible, right? It's very possible that that could happen. And, you know, years and years and years later, now that the technology is very mature, people want to do immigration, because if you want to immigrate nowadays, you have to do DNA testing. You know, you win visa lottery, or you know, a husband has been abroad for years, now want the family to join them. The embassy would usually, these days, they will ask you to do DNA test. I mean, they want to be sure that the people you are bringing with you are biologically related to you. I'm going to address something else on how this can be handled later on in this program. But DNA testing now allows all of these issues that were hidden for a very, very long time can now be easily revealed. Either because people specifically want to know, or they were doing something else and by mistake, the truth comes out. I've heard of stories where, you know, somebody left Nigeria or they won visa lottery, they're in America for years, then it's now time to file the papers for their family to come. That's when the man finds out the kids are not his kids, or 1 out of 3, or 1 out of 4, or 2 out of 4, whatever it is, are not his own children. Up until that time, nobody had any clue. But now the embassy says you have to do paternity DNA test before you can come. And I have a relative. Well, thank goodness the young woman is actually his daughter. So he had been abroad for years and wanted to bring the young girl to come and live with them, you know, join them in abroad. And they had to do paternity DNA test. Well, it's his daughter, but the test also proved that, and he had no problem. But if the test came back negative, then we have a problem. The embassy will say, sorry, this person can't come. This person is not related to you. And so it can be very heartbreaking, can be very devastating. I mean, this thing can be really, really major disruption to families, to lives. And so in many places, companies that do this test actually have some things in place to try to handle the fallout. This is not a very well developed thing in Nigeria, but I think it's something that people need to pay attention to. In other words, if you are in a situation where you want to do a paternity DNA test, a few other things needs to be taken care of first, because you cannot be sure how this is going to affect you. You may think you know, but you don't. Because once those results are released, it can create the kind of upheaval that some families may not survive. And I will wrap up with an example. We have a company in Nigeria. I'm part of a a business unit that actually provides paternity DNA testing. So last year, a customer approached us and wanted his children tested. We don't ask people why they want to do it. We provide a service. And so the company made the arrangement, sent the collection kit to, this person is in Port Harcourt, is an engineer with Shell. So send the kit to Port Harcourt. They collected the buccal samples from inside your inner cheeks, sent the samples, and they were sent to the lab for lab testing. And the results came back. The results were heartbreaking because these kids were like in junior secondary school at this point. Of the 3 kids that were tested, 2 of them were not his kids. Only one was his biological child. The other 2 were not. This man was completely unraveled. I mean, he was completely broken. In fact, he insisted that we do the test again. I actually had to call him to explain to him that, sir, this is not how this works. We can repeat this test 100 times. The results are not going to change. He said, no, he wanted the test to be repeated. I tried to explain to him that it won't change the results. He said, no, he wants the test to be repeated. He wanted to pay again. In fact, he paid again. I mean, what do you do? I could understand where he was coming from, but because I think he assumed that these kids were his. He's been taking care of these children for years. In fact, they were in expensive private schools, as a matter of fact. And now maybe he was suspecting his wife. I don't know the backstory. Like I said, we don't get involved in all of that. But when the results came back, it was completely devastating. And the second case that I will round up with is a customer that contacted us from Jos. His brother passed away. He wanted to adopt his 2 nieces. So he had 2 young girls who were his brother's daughters. So his brother had passed away, and there is a particular test called an avuncular test where it's not a direct paternity, it's uncle, like to see if somebody is related to you and you are that person's uncle. The test can be done to determine that as well, because if you are full SIB, like me and my brother, we have 50% of our DNA in common. If your cousins is 25%, uncle and niece is also 25%. So there's a way to use this test to determine if there's a biological relationship between any 2 people. And so we shipped the collection kits to Jos. The samples were collected. They went to the lab. The testing was done. And it came back. And the 2 girls are not related to him. Now, let me quickly say something here so that people don't get confused. If these girls are not related to him, the unspoken question is, are those girls his brother's kids? So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Are those girls his brother's kids? The test says no, they are not his brother's kids because they are not related to him. But there's a bigger problem here. And when a friend of mine pointed it out, I was blown away. And the bigger problem, I hope you guys are ready for this, is he related to his late brother? Because that's another issue. Is he related to his late brother? Maybe the reason that the girls are not related to him is because he and his brother are not actually brothers. We don't know that. His brother has passed away. So maybe the girls are truly his brother's daughters. The problem is that he and his so-called brother are not related. We don't know. Our test didn't test for that. So you can see how this thing can just grow legs into different directions. Let me stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. Indeed, it's growing legs. And Professor Imumure, you blew my mind. But let me come over to Emeritus Professor. The Bible talks about children being God's heritage. Now we are saying that, like Professor Ihide is saying, that it's possible you are living all your life with a stranger, stranger entirely. Is this a justification for men now to say, I must begin to use my head? I want to unravel some secrets. That's one. Two, if somebody has been living with me, granted, assuming the person is a stranger that I call my son or my daughter, and it's like 25 years old, am I supposed to expect some genetical disputation, some genetical content that we don't find in our family line? Explain how all of this is. Thank you.
Like Prof said, in a family, you are 50% related to your father and your mother. And then you are 25% related to your grandparents. And so even all the cousins in that family line will be related by 25%. So there's no way you can say, no, they are deceiving you, or so, and so on and so forth. Parents are related to their offspring by 50%. 50% from the father's side, 50% from the mother's side. And then when you now go to cousins, they should be 25% related to each other. And to grandchildren as well, they should be 25% related to their grandparents. So that's what we usually look for. So you cannot say, oh, it's a mistake. No. We know what we look for. We know what we calculate. We know how we search for that percentage of inheritance. And then we have genetic markers that we use to determine this. So if you are using the markers and it's saying, no, there's nothing you can do about it, because we have genetic markers already documented that we look for. So if you are really a geneticist or a breeder or a biotechnologist, you must know that ratio, that percentage inheritance between you and your children, between your husband and your children, between children and children. Like I said, the children of Lord Jefferson, you know, when he died a long time ago, the children said the bone should be exhumed. They want to tell the world that they belong to that man. And they found out that, oh yes, they now trace the history that their mother was kept in an underground cell and was having children for Lord Jefferson. So they belong to him, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And like I said, if once you are able to get your, apart from the Booker collection, once you can get your hair, get your nail, get your bones, apart from your blood, we can extract the DNA from any of those ones. Apart from collecting, because they say non-invasive one is collecting from the mouth, not from the saliva, from the buccal cavity. But if you are able to get from any formerly existing bone on this planet Earth, you will get the relationship with all your offspring, the relationship with your cousins, with your nieces and nephews, and so on. Genetics are help us to do all those ones. So apart from looking at the fellow and saying, oh, it belongs, it does not belong, you can collect anything, any part of your body, and then analyze it. We'll get all the results out. Within days, it should be out. So you can't bamboozle anybody. Once it's a geneticist or biotechnology, you can't bamboozle us. We know the ratio of inheritance between parents and offspring, between offspring and offspring, between nieces and uncles and aunties. We know the relationship. So you can't, there's no way you can bamboozle God again, except you go to a quack. But if it's a real geneticist, we know what we do. We know what we search for. We know the marker that we have to look for to be able to run the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Adibambo. And of course, the big question, Professor Ikide. And this question is quite one right there. Looking at the topic that we're discussing today, genetic revelation, unraveling the conundrum of paternity disputes in modern families. You know, I tried doing like a research concerning this particular topic. There's this term that came my way called female regret. And I wanted to tell you straight more, right? I'll come to Professor Ikide on this one. You know, from what I read, they used to make a case of the term genetic markers that don't mark your appearance. For example, this can lead to significance of infidelity when paternity is actually from the side of the family not accounted for. It's not the second DNA. Inherited from maybe the father, kind of. You know, that's on the one hand. Then on the other hand, for example, the recipients is it possible that the recipient also gets a
to unveil our guests who are eminent geneticists? Let me not cut my teeth there. That assignment is to be handled by Samuel Fatoku. Samuel, thank you. In this and that, our world revolved around three great it's actually at the University of Ibadan. Owing to our numerous accomplishments, Olufunmilayo Ayokako Adibambo is the first female professor of animal breeding, genetics and biotechnology in Nigeria. He successfully developed a book in the genetic breed for Nigeria with